The American flag is a sacred symbol of U.S. freedom and strength. For nearly 250 years, Americans have fought and died to keep the stars and stripes waving proudly. It unites all Americans, and desecrating it is an offensive act of contempt against our nation's rights and liberty. There are very different schools of thought on this, even though the Supreme Court has ruled in the past that it is pretty much legal. Not pretty much, it is legal to burn the American flag. It's free expression, free speech. It's covered under the First Amendment, but we're going to get into why this is relevant right now if you haven't heard already. Breaking from Nick Sordor, President Trump just signed an executive order directing the DOJ to pursue 1 year in prison for those who burn American flags in the street. Quote, you get 1 year in jail, no early exits, no nothing. 1 year in jail if you burn a flag. What it does is incite to riot. What it does is incite to riot. Oh my gosh, President Trump, your quotes are screwing me all up tonight.
Lastly, sir,
let's check this out.
Order on flag burning. It charges your attorney general.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision. They called it freedom of speech, but there's another reason which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You could do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. In a way, both ways. There are some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry about them doing it. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So what the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning, and then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, and instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute those who are engaged in these instances of flag burning.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail, no early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, you get, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they use that language, by the way. Did they?
Yeah, incitement.
Incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record. And you will see flag burning stopping immediately, just like when I signed the Statute and Monument Act. 10 years in jail if you hurt any of our beautiful monuments. Everybody left town. They were gone. Never had a problem after that. It's pretty amazing. We stopped it. But this is something that's, I don't know, in a certain way, it's equally as important. Some people would say it's more important. Because the people in this country don't want to see our American flag burned and spit on. And by people
well, no,
that
of course we don't.
In many cases, paid agitators. They're paid by the radical left to do it. You talk to these people, they don't even know, half of them don't even know what they're doing. They say, I don't know, they gave me money to do this. I see the same things that you do. They're bad people. They're trying to destroy our nation. That's not working, because I think our nation now is the most respected nation anywhere in the world, by far. You saw that with the European leaders on Friday. You saw that with NATO, where they agreed to go from 2% no pay to 5% fully paid up, trillions of dollars paid, where they respect your president to a level that they jokingly call me the president of Europe. They call me the president of Europe, which is an honor. I like Europe, and I like those people. They're good people. They're great leaders.
Planet America.
And we've never had a case where
President of Planet America.
7 plus really 28.
Gulf of America.
38 countries were represented here the other day. 38 European countries were represented. European and other countries were represented, and it was a great meeting. But your country is respected again. I say it all the time. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Everybody said it. We had a dead country. We were not going to survive. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world.
We were in trouble, that's for sure.
It's an honor to be involved, and this group has a lot to do with it.
In some ways, we still are, but he's doing a lot more than past presidents have done in recent history.
Does anybody behind me have any?
All right. So I don't expect this to stand. I'm sure there's probably a judge already signing as I speak to put a stop to this. I don't know, but we'll see. Anyway, if you have any comments on it or any opinions, definitely drop it in the comments because I'd be curious to know. I'm honestly, I hate to say it, but I'm kind of against this because, you know, if you bought your flag and you burn the flag, it's your flag. I mean, if it incites a riot, then everybody should be getting arrested who decide to riot. If you steal somebody else's flag, or if you take down a flag from a flagpole and burn it, then yeah, you should be going to jail for a year at a minimum. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, we have more information with regard to this from Donna Loesch. Flag burning is vile, but the government has no right to control speech or expression. And she commented, well, she didn't comment, she actually reposted what was published by the New York Post today about 7 hours ago. Trump signs executive order banning flag burning, warns those who desecrate the flag will get a year in jail. And I don't know if they actually linked the article or not. I don't think they did. No, they didn't. Which is fine. It's fine. I mean, we got the gist of it from President Trump himself. I mean, all they're going to do is basically echo what he just said. And this comes from DC Drano. I want burning the U.S. flag to be treated the same as burning the trans flag. If one is a hate crime, they're both hate crimes. If one is free speech, they're both free speech. I call that equal rights. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. That is 100% true. Same with the LGBT flag. Pretty sure it's probably considered a hate crime if you burn the LGBT flag. But if you burn the American flag, it's perfectly acceptable, though, according to them. I don't see how that makes sense. I would never in a million years harm the American flag, but a president telling me I can't has me as close as I'll ever be to lighting one on fire. Uh-oh. I am a free American citizen, and if I ever feel like torching one, I will. This is garbage. And that's Jesse Kelly. And he's the host of the nationally syndicated Jesse Kelly Show. Host of I'm Right on the first anti-communist world famous author. And again, quoting or replying to the New York Post, of course. And then this is from the GOP. Quote, if you burn an American flag, you get 1 year in jail. So obviously the GOP is behind it, but we have another clip from Trump right here.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail, no early
just another angle.
Exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, you get, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they use that language, by the way. Did they?
Yeah, incitement is
incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record. And you will see flag burning stopping immediately.
All right, what it sounds like to me is that the way he's writing this executive order is that if you're burning an American flag to incite a riot, that's what's going to get you arrested and thrown in jail for a year. That's how I'm understanding it. But if you're just, I mean, look, like what other context are you going to burn the American flag when you're not in a protest? Other than if your flag is torn up, if it's been flying for too long and the wind has ripped it up, you could do it pursuant to flag code, whereas you rip the stripes apart, all the stripes, you separate them all, the red stripes, the white stripes, and then the blue section. I always forget what the name of the blue section is. Is it the Union Jack? Is that what it's called? I can't remember, man. I feel awful that I can't remember that. But anyway, yeah, the stars. You're supposed to separate the three, and then you're supposed to either bury it or burn it. So I'm assuming that's not going to be a punishable offense under this executive order. It sounds like it's only going to be in the context of inciting a riot or when they're engaging in protesting. I mean, I don't agree with it. I honestly don't. And readers actually added context to this one that they thought people might want to know. The president does not have the power to create a crime which would be punishable by jail time. Only Congress can do that. And they actually give a link to that on congress.gov. Further, flag burning is expressive speech protected by the First Amendment, as the Supreme Court held in Texas v. Johnson and United States versus Eichmann. And I will link both of these, of course. If you want to check this out in the description, they'll both be down there if you want to read it yourself. The powers of Congress begin and end with the Constitution. The Constitution vests Congress with explicit authority to enact criminal laws relating to counterfeiting, piracy, crimes on the high seas, offenses against the law of nations, and treason. It grants Congress other broad powers, such as the power to regulate interstate commerce. The Constitution's necessary and proper clause allows Congress to enact criminal laws when reasonably related to the regulation of commerce or one of the other constitutionally enumerated powers. The Constitution also imposes limits on the power of Congress, and it places those limits in the terms it uses in its grants of authority, in explicit prohibitions, and in the 10th Amendment, remainder of the restrictions implicit in the federal union. Recently, the Supreme Court and lower federal appellate courts have supplied several examples of the scope and limits of congressional authority. And it goes on from there. I mean, obviously, this is going to be a very extensive read if you want to go through all of this. Congressional authority to enact criminal law, an examination of selected recent cases. And the other one that they've got linked up here from uscourts.gov, facts and case summary, Texas versus Johnson. And Gregory Lee Johnson. Oh, yeah, okay, here's an instance right here. Burning the American flag. Let me make this a little larger so those of you who are looking at this on a phone can actually try to read it. Gregory Lee Johnson burned an American flag outside of the convention center where the 1984 Republican National Convention was being held in Dallas, Texas. Johnson burned the flag to protest the policies of President Ronald Reagan. He was arrested and charged with violating a Texas statute that prevented the desecration of a venerated object, including the American flag, if such action were likely to incite anger in others. A Texas court tried and convicted Johnson, and he appealed, arguing that his actions were symbolic speech protected by the First Amendment, and the Supreme Court agreed to hear his case, which I believe they actually sided with it, didn't they? Yeah, the issue whether flag burning constitutes symbolic speech protected by the First Amendment, the ruling was yes, in a decision of 5-4, according to Justice William Brennan, agreed with Johnson and held that flag burning constitutes a form of symbolic speech that is protected by the First Amendment. The majority noted that freedom of speech protects actions that society may find very offensive, but society's outrage alone is not justification for suppressing free speech. Very interesting. And that is that's going to be a very tricky situation when you compare burning the American flag with burning, let's say, the LGBTQ flag. I think that anybody, especially conservatives, I mean, if they say that if you're allowed to burn the American flag, then yeah, you're sure as hell allowed to burn the LGBT flag, even though it's not technically not even technically, it's in no way, shape, or form a flag that we all stand under at all. You know, these days, a lot of people, including a lot of people in the LGBT community, especially the classical liberal types, they would say that the entire LGBT movement has been completely hijacked by this radical leftist cult that has absolutely turned it into just a dystopic nightmare of sorts. But anyway, so I've got a couple of more here. So this is from Matt Walsh, who you might find to be familiar from the Daily Wire. He's also put out a couple of documentaries, including What is a Woman? That was a very, very popular documentary that they strategically put out. I want to say it was at the very beginning of June, or am I wrong on that? Maybe it was near the end of the year. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, no, it was. What is a Woman? They actually made it free to view for either for a full day in June, or no, it was for a whole month. They actually put it up on X. Matt Walsh did. He put it on his own X profile, the entire documentary that anybody could go watch for free on X for 24 hours. And that was when I saw it. But anyway, so Matt Walsh says, yes, make it a crime to burn the American flag. Desecration of the gay pride flag is already prosecuted as a hate crime in this country. No more double standards. If the sacred symbol of the LGBT cult is protected, American flags should be too. Simple as that. All right. I can't say I don't disagree with that. And Thomas Massey, flag burning, whether it's American or Israel, is covered by the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. Neither Congress nor the president nor a judge can make it illegal. And he piggybacks on this, going all the way back to June 11th when he initially posted this one. Burning your own American flag is nenarded, but it's not illegal, nor should it be. No one should want a federal government so powerful that it can lock you up for a year for burning your own stuff. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. If you bought your own flag, that's just the way of it. I mean, if you stick with flag code anything that has the American flag printed on it should be treated as the American flag itself. That would have to pertain to paper plates, napkins, t-shirts, shorts, anything of that sort. So, I mean, if you're sticking strictly to flag code, even wearing like American flag shorts would be some form of desecrating the American flag. So there's different schools of thought on it. There's different ways to interpret the flag and how it should be treated. Of course, 99.9% of Americans, they wouldn't, well, maybe not 99.9, maybe at least 90% of Americans today wouldn't even dream about setting the American flag on fire. Plus, you're going to get an absolute outrage mob chasing after you if you do that in the wrong place. You know what I mean? All right, so we'll move on from that. So that was pretty wild that President Trump signed that today. That was very unexpected. Not sure if he just came up with that on his own. I'm assuming he did. I would think that any of his advisors would have probably strongly recommended against that, because you're going to have a lot of conservatives that are going to be pushing back against this just for that reason, because it's your own property. If you buy your own American flag, it's your flag. It's not anybody else's, it's mine. I should be allowed to burn what's mine, even if it is something like the American flag. It's free speech, free expression. So anyway, yeah, definitely leave a comment, because I know there's going to be different arguments on both sides. And I would say mostly I agree with Matt Walsh and the other individual who mentioned if you burn the American flag, then you should be able to burn any flag then, including the LGBTQ flag. And that should not be considered a hate crime. So very interesting situation happening today.